Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/ProRevenge. In today's episode, if you don't like it, you can leave. You want to play games? Sure, but I bet I'm better at them. Manager refuses to acknowledge a light duty note from my doctor, then proceeds to get publicly shamed by his boss. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. If you don't like it, you can leave. I know this isn't an epic professional malicious compliance story, but it was fun and rewarding when it happened. When I was in school, about 14 years old, we got a new arts teacher. Our previous one was amazing. She used to be a famous painter in our state that wanted to teach in her free time and paint just for pleasure. She taught us the basic techniques while encouraging us to create and experiment. She also implemented an arts fair in our school, kind of like a science fair. We had one big theme and each grade had a sub-theme that would fit. The students used to split in groups and come up with an idea that would use some of the material in our curriculum, but we still had a lot of freedom to create. We would have to clear it with her, and she helped us with ideas, materials, guidance. The fair had been going for years, and it was one that parents actually liked to attend, going back to it even after their kids already left the school. It's important to note that the school was really not a big one. My grade was the last one that was taught there, and we only had 20 to 30 students per grade, so we had all classes together, and we all knew each other well. Awesome teacher's health wasn't that good anymore and she retired. Comes new teacher that from the get-go seemed to be intimidated and full of hatred for our previous teacher. She would talk badly about our previous teacher's work, say that what we learned was useless, that everything we were doing was bad and wrong since we never were taught any better, etc., etc. We already didn't like her, but it was our last year there, and we weren't confrontational. Then, time for arts fair comes up. We are excited. Our whole theme is art from our country, and each grade got specific states. The one my grade got has a really rich culture, with characteristic clothes, dances, etc. We were excited and started organizing ourselves. Then, new teacher tells us that none of that is going to be presented. She wants us to split in groups of twos and make sort of a painting, using papier-mâché and trapping objects of that state in it. We were like, but we want to present the dance. We already talked with someone who has the clothes for us to borrow to present in a living statue. We want to do more, and she went on this rant about how our old teacher used to let us do anything, but we were not following the curriculum, and it was ridiculous, that she knew what was best for us, and we were all brats, that the old teacher made the art fair become a laughing matter, and she would not have it. We tried presenting our reasons. We said that having over 10 of the exact same thing was not going to represent the culture of the state, it would be boring to look at, and that we didn't mind doing it if we could also do more. She got angrier and angrier with us trying to talk to her, so she said, "This is my class, and if you don't like it, you can leave." So of course, we left. All of us just got up and left. We went straight to our principal's office, that was tiny. She agreed to see us, and it was a mess, all of us teenagers feeling that we were not being treated fairly, complaining about our teacher all at once. Our teacher finally showed up, crying. Our principal asked us to wait outside of her office. Finally, 3 of us were invited back inside, where our version was asked. The teacher was still there, and we explained what happened and what we wanted, with her crying in the corner and sobbing all the time. I am glad to say that none of us let that make us back away, and the principal didn't allow it either. We reached a compromise. We would make sure to have at least 5 of those hideous paintings she wanted, and we would still be allowed to do everything else we wanted. The fair itself was horrible. Our class was the only one allowed to do anything different, so every room just had things hanging in the wall, all looking similar to each other. Ours had typical food from that state for people to snack on, dance presentation every 30 people doing living statues with the full clothing we got from a cultural center, a TV showing short movies from artists of that state, and a bunch of students wearing some sort of attire from there with a ton of information about the state to tell visitors. Plus, 5 of those paintings in a corner that no one paid attention to. It didn't take 2 more years for the art fair to stop happening, since it didn't get attendance from the public anymore, and the parents complained about the waste of time, plus the waste of money the school had hosting it. You want to play games? Sure, but I bet I'm better at them. I drive a truck out of the same warehouse every night. I show up at midnight, get my paperwork, and deliver the load on that paperwork. Most nights I get the same run, which is scheduled to leave the warehouse at 2:30. I show up so early in case they need me to pull a different load. I've been there for close to 2 years now and always got along with everybody for my first year. About 9 months ago they hired a new dispatcher, the person who hands me my paperwork, and she started implying she was interested in me. She would compliment my looks and ask about my day and stuff like that. After a few months of this I asked her out, she agreed, I scheduled a date, and all was well. When the date came up she cancelled last minute and asked to reschedule. She never got back to me, and I never reached out again. No big deal, this is pretty typical behavior in modern dating. We still saw each other at work and got along well enough. I treated her like any other coworker and she did the same. That is until about 3 months ago anyway. I came in and got my normal run which leaves at 2:30. Since I have some time to kill I go hang out with a buddy who's close by, something I do quite often and everyone is cool with it. As long as I deliver on time that's all that matters. I came back at 1:45 and found out my truck needed repairs, so I went into dispatch and asked for a different one. The dispatcher gets snotty and starts yelling at me about how they couldn't track me. We're constantly monitored by GPS while on duty, but I wasn't on duty yet so there's no need to track me. I argued back for a little bit and eventually just sighed and said, can I please just get another truck so I can deliver on time like I had planned? She throws a key at me and I go do my job just as well as any other day. All goes well for the next 2 months or so. I still see her every day, but I keep conversation to a minimum and do my job. One day I come in and find out they don't have a load for me. That's not uncommon and I get paid just to be on call so I'm content. I go hang out with a buddy as usual and await the call to either come in for a load or get relieved for the day. She calls at about 1 a.m. and says come in when you get a minute. I say okay and she hangs up. I show up in about 5 to 10 minutes and she tells me that another driver didn't show up for his shift, so she called me in for his run. He actually showed up a few minutes late, between the phone call and my arrival, so she gave him his usual run and said they didn't have anything for me. She then proceeds to scold me for taking too long to get there, saying the load would have been late. I would have had about 4 hours to do a 2.5-hour drive. It wouldn't have been late. At this point I'm 99% sure she's screwing with me, so I just say okay, and I turn around and leave. About 20 minutes later I get another call saying I have a run. I go in and get the paperwork to start my day. This run was on a tight schedule due to poor planning. It could have left the warehouse earlier, but it didn't, and now there's only a 15-minute margin of error. I notice there's an issue with the trailer. It's nothing dangerous, but it's technically illegal and shouldn't be on the road. Normally I would just pull the trailer and report the issue when I got back since it isn't dangerous, but not today. I bring the trailer to the on-site shop for repairs, but the mechanic couldn't fix it. At this point dispatch is calling me asking why I haven't left the warehouse yet, so I fill them in. I tell them I'm not pulling a trailer with any flaws, and we need to load the product into another trailer. They agree because it's illegal for them to make me drive a vehicle I'm not comfortable with, and we get started. It took about an hour to move the contents of the trailer into a new one, so at this point I'm running about 30 to 45 minutes late. I just sat in my truck browsing Reddit while the warehouse did all the work. I ended up getting to my delivery about an hour late, which makes dispatch, and the whole company, look bad. I apologized to the customer and explained the problem. I've delivered there before, and they like me, so it's all good. Dispatch hasn't played any games with me since. I'm hoping they got the message that I won't be a pushover. Manager refuses to acknowledge a light-duty note from my doctor, then proceeds to get publicly shamed by his boss. Worked at Walmart many years ago and had this shift manager, SM, that was just a dick to everyone but a select few that he liked. One night I was scanning in overstocked drinks with a coworker, as they were heavy cases and almost a full pallet. SM comes by and says no, I can do it by myself, no excuse to have help with it. I then asked if I could at least move the electric pallet jack that was left blocking some of the empty shelves, but he said no, as there were plenty of other ones, which were above my head. Being young and dumb, I shrugged and started stacking these cases of Arizona tea gallons, while trying to maneuver around this pallet jack, and ended up messing up my lower and middle back and shoulder. Did the whole workers' comp and went to their ghetto clinic, and they just gave me some pain pills and told me to take it easy, giving me a note for light duty. When I came back and gave SM the light duty note, his solution was to have me stock produce, which involved moving around large boxes full of various things in the coolers to get what I needed, and a lot of bending and twisting. I told him this was more strenuous than my typical work, so he told, if you don't want to do that, then I don't need you here, so just go home and come back when you can work. I said awesome and took a nap in my car till 7 a.m. when the main store manager come in. I went straight to her office and told her everything, and she immediately paged him to her office, and then stood right there in the hallways and chewed him out so hard, in front of everyone clocking in and out, for many minutes. Dude looked like he was about to cry and I had the biggest stupidest smile watching him. After that the dude wouldn't even look my direction, and if he ever needed something from me, he would send a shift lead to tell me instead. That lasted a few months till I finally quit that stupid job. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.